Welcome to the Hope for Today podcast. Today is day 18.
It's wonderful to be here. And I have to say, today marks a really seismic shift in our journey. We are effectively closing the book on let's call it the family album era of Genesis.
The patriarchs, yeah.
Exactly. And we're opening the national epic of Exodus.
That is a perfect way to frame it. For the last few sessions, we've been deep in the personal lives of, Abraham, Isaac, Jacob, and Joseph. We watched this family grow from a wealthy clan into this protected class living in Egypt.
In the best land, no less.
In the best land. But today, the tone shifts dramatically. It's abrupt, and honestly, it's pretty brutal.
It really is. The text opens, and it lists the sons of Israel who went to Egypt. And it makes a point to say that Joseph and that whole generation have now died. But then the narrative just hits the accelerator.
A huge passage of time.
A massive passage of time. We go from, 70 individuals to a population that the text says is teeming?
Right. Exodus 1 uses this stack of intense verbs. They were fruitful, multiplied, increased. It says the land was filled with them. And this is where things get complicated for Egypt, isn't it?
Exactly. I mean, to really get the tension here, you have to look at the context. Many historians think this aligns with a big shift in Egyptian leadership. Egypt had likely been ruled by the Hyksos, who were outsiders, Semitic people.
So, similar to Joseph's family.
Very similar. But now, native Egyptian rulers have taken back control. And they're incredibly nationalistic. They're xenophobic.
Which explains that chilling line in verse 8. Then a new king, to whom Joseph meant nothing, came to power in Egypt. It's not just that he didn't know the history.
No, it's that he deliberately chose to ignore it. It's a willful erasure. Joseph had saved the entire country from famine. He was a national hero.
A hero.
But to this new administration, that debt is canceled. The Pharaoh looks at this huge immigrant population in Goshen, and he doesn't see an asset anymore. He sees a threat. He sees a sleeper cell.
And his logic is laid out so clearly. He tells his people, look, if a war breaks out, these Israelites might join our enemies and fight against us. It's a strategy born completely out of paranoia.
And his solution is state-sponsored oppression.
And it's systematic.
Totally. The text says they put slave masters over them. They were forced to build Pithom and Ramses, these massive store cities. This wasn't just farm work. This was back-breaking labor.
But here's where it gets so interesting. It's the first big paradox of Exodus. You'd think crushing labor would, decimate the population.
Of course.
But verse 12 says, the more they were oppressed, the more they multiplied and spread. It's like trying to put out a fire with gasoline.
It defies all logic. I mean, stress usually lowers birth rates. But here, the oppression just acts as a catalyst.
Yeah.
And it drives the Pharaoh absolutely mad. He realizes that economic oppression isn't working, so he escalates.
To demographic warfare. And this brings us to one of the most fascinating standoffs in the Bible. You have the most powerful man on earth, Pharaoh.
Who was considered a god king.
A god king, going head-to-head with two women, Shiphrah and Puah, the Hebrew midwives.
And I love that we know their names. In ancient history, kings build these huge monuments to themselves. They erase the names of their enemies. But here, the Bible ignores the Pharaoh's name. He's just Pharaoh. And it preserves the names of two working-class women.
It tells you who God thinks is important in the story.
It really does. And the order Pharaoh gives them is just horrific. When you help the Hebrew women give birth, if it is a boy, kill him. It's a stealth genocide.
He's trying to wipe out the next generation of men without making it look like a public execution.
Precisely. But Shiphrah and Puah, they engage in one of the earliest acts of civil disobedience we have on record. Verse 17 is the key. The midwives, however, feared God and did not do what the king of Egypt had told them.
That phrase, feared God, it's doing a lot of work there, isn't it? It's not that they were terrified of God, it's that their reverence for a higher moral law was greater than their fear of the tyrant in front of them.
Right. And when Pharaoh brings them in for questioning, why have you let the boys live? They give this incredibly shrewd, maybe even a little sarcastic response.
What do they say?
They say, the Hebrew women are not like Egyptian women. They are vigorous and give birth before the midwives arrive.
I've always wondered about that. Is that a biological fact or just a really clever lie?
It's likely a bit of both. It's defiance wrapped in a compliment. They're telling Pharaoh, these people are stronger than you think. And notice God's response. He doesn't rebuke them for deception. He blesses them. He gives them their own families.
So it sets this precedent that obeying God comes before obeying unjust human laws.
It does. But since the secret plan fails, Pharaoh takes the gloves off. He issues a public decree.
Every Hebrew boy that is born you must throw into the Nile.
The Nile. The very life source of Egypt, worshipped as a god, he's turning it into a mass grave. It's a moment of absolute darkness.
And that grim setting launches us into chapter 2. We zoom in from this national crisis to one specific family. A Levite couple has a baby boy, and the text says, the mother saw he was a fine child.
Which, I mean, every mother thinks that about her baby. But the Hebrew word there is toph. It's the same word from Genesis 1, where God saw that the light was good. There's something special, something divine about this child. So she hides him for 3 months. Can you imagine the agony? Trying to keep a newborn quiet in a slave camp.
But she can't do it forever, so she comes up with this plan that, technically complies with the law, but subverts it completely. Pharaoh said, put him in the river.
So she puts him in the river.
But she puts him in a basket first.
And the word used for basket here is just fascinating. It's teba. It is only used one other time in the entire Old Testament.
For Noah's Ark. I had not made that connection.
Yes. So just as the ark saved humanity from the waters of judgment, this little ark is saving the deliverer from the waters of death. It's a miniature vessel of salvation.
She even coats it with tar and pitch.
Just like Noah, she places it in the reeds. And then we get this supreme moment of divine irony. Who finds the ark?
Pharaoh's own daughter. You just can't write a better twist.
You can't. The daughter of the man ordering the genocide comes down to bathe, sees the basket, hears the crying, and she knows immediately this is one of the Hebrew babies.
And this is her moment of choice, isn't it? She knows the decree.
Her father's decree. But the text says she felt sorry for him. Compassion just overrides ideology.
And then the baby sister, Miriam, pops out of the reeds. Talk about brave.
Unbelievably brave. She asks the princess, shall I go and get one of the Hebrew women to nurse the baby for you?
It's a brilliant move. She solves the princess's problem for her, and the princess agrees, so Miriam goes and gets
her own mother, the baby's mother, Jochebed.
So let's just track this. The baby is saved, he's returned to his own mother, he's under royal protection, and the mother is paid wages from the Egyptian treasury to raise her own son.
It's God just laughing at the enemy's plans. He uses Pharaoh's own money to fund the upbringing of the man who will bring that empire to its knees.
And then the princess names him Moses, because she drew him out of the water.
And that name is a double entendre. In Egyptian, Mos just means son of, like Thutmose. But in Hebrew, it sounds like the verb to draw out. So he's always walking this line between two identities.
And that identity crisis just explodes in the next section. We fast forward 40 years, Moses is grown, and he goes out to his own people.
So he knows he's Hebrew.
He knows. And he sees an Egyptian beating a Hebrew. Moses just snaps. He looks around, kills the Egyptian, and buries him in the sand.
He tries to bring justice through violence. He thinks, I'm a prince, I'm in a position of power, I can fix this. But the very next day, he gets a reality check.
He tries to break up a fight between two Hebrews.
And one of them turns on him with that haunting question. Who made you ruler and judge over us?
That has to cut deep.
It does. Because at that moment, the answer is nobody. God hasn't sent him yet. Moses appointed himself, and he realizes his cover is blown.
If the slaves know, Pharaoh will find out.
So the prince of Egypt becomes a fugitive. He flees all the way to Midian. I mean, what a come down. From the palace to sitting by a well in the desert.
But his character hasn't changed. At the well, he sees these 7 daughters of a priest being harassed by shepherds, and even as a fugitive, Moses can't stand injustice. He steps in.
He drives them off, waters their flock, and that act gets him an introduction to their father, Reuel. He settles down, marries Zipporah, and becomes a shepherd. He names his son Gershom, saying, I have become a foreigner in a foreign land.
It sounds like he's given up, like his life as a deliverer is over before it even began.
He spends 40 years there, 40 years of silence. But while Moses is herding sheep, the clock is ticking in Egypt. The old Pharaoh dies, the slavery continues, and then we get to these pivotal verses at the end of chapter 2.
The Israelites groaned, they cried out.
And the text says, God heard their groaning, and he remembered his covenant with Abraham, with Isaac, and with Jacob.
We need to be careful with that word remembered, don't we? Doesn't mean God had forgotten.
Not at all. It's not like, oh, right, I forgot about them. In Hebrew thought, when God remembers, it means he is about to act. He's moving from observation to intervention.
Right. The text says he heard, he remembered, he saw, and he knew. It's a total sensory involvement.
Which sets the stage perfectly for chapter 3. Moses is at Horeb, the mountain of God, just doing his job. And he sees a bush.
And a bush on fire in the desert isn't that strange. But this one.
This one is different. It's burning, but it's not being consumed. The fuel isn't running out.
That's the hook. It piques his curiosity. He says, I will go over and see this strange sight. And the moment he engages, God speaks.
Moses, Moses. And the very first command is about boundaries. Do not come any closer. Take off your sandals, for the place where you are standing is holy ground.
What's the significance of taking off the sandals?
Well, there are a few layers. One is cleanliness, removing the dust of the world. But also, in that culture, slaves didn't wear shoes. So by taking off his sandals, Moses is acknowledging he's a servant in the presence of a greater king.
An act of submission.
Total submission. And then God introduces himself, but not as some generic deity. He anchors himself in Moses' family line. I am the God of your father, the God of Abraham, the God of Isaac, and the God of Jacob.
He's connecting the dots for him.
He's saying, Moses, you think you're a disconnected fugitive, but you are part of a story that started centuries ago. And then God reveals his heart. He says, I have come down to rescue them.
That phrase, come down, is so striking. It implies nearness, presence. He outlines the whole plan. Bring them to a land flowing with milk and honey. Moses is probably thinking, great, go get them, Lord.
Right, until the other shoe drops.
Yeah.
God says, so now go. I am sending you to Pharaoh.
And Moses just hits the brakes. This is the same guy who 40 years ago thought he could save the day on his own. Now he's older, wiser. He asks, who am I that I should go to Pharaoh?
It's a fair question. He's a shepherd with a criminal record. But look at God's answer. He doesn't try to pump up Moses' self-esteem. He doesn't say, you're smart, you're strong.
No, he simply says, I will be with you.
That's it. The answer to Moses' inadequacy isn't his own competence. It's God's presence. The who am I doesn't matter. The who is with you is everything.
God even gives him a future sign. He says, when you have brought the people out, you will worship God on this mountain. It requires trust now to see the proof later.
But Moses has a more practical problem. He says, okay, say I go back. The Israelites are going to ask me, what is his name? What am I supposed to tell them?
Which is a crucial cultural point. In Egypt, every god had a specific name, a specific domain. To know a god's name was to have access to their power, in a way.
He needs credentials, and
Yeah.
God gives him the ultimate credential. He says, I am, W-H-O-I am.
Hey, Azar, hey.
Yes, it's breathtaking. It means he is the self-existent one. He isn't defined by anything else. He tells Moses, say to the Israelites, I am has sent me to you.
It's a declaration of absolute sovereignty. And he says this is his name forever. He's the God of the past, Abraham, and the God of the eternal present.
With that foundation laid, God gives Moses the tactical plan. Gather the elders, go to the king, ask for a 3-day journey to offer sacrifices.
But God is also a realist. He tells Moses up front, the king of Egypt will not let you go unless a mighty hand compels him.
And this is so important. It manages expectations. Moses isn't walking into a friendly negotiation. He's walking into a conflict. God says, I will stretch out my hand and strike the Egyptians with all the wonders that I will perform.
And there's that detail at the end I think is often misunderstood. God says they won't leave empty-handed. They will ask the Egyptians for silver and gold and clothing. They will plunder the Egyptians.
It can sound like looting, can it? But we have to see it in the context of justice. These people have worked as slaves for generations.
Unpaid, brutalized labor. So it's back wages.
Exactly. It's reparations. God is making sure that when they leave, they aren't just refugees. They are a restored people with the wealth they rightfully earned. It's a profound statement about economic justice.
It really is. So looking back at day 18, we've gone from the silence of slavery through the bravery of midwives to a burning bush where the Creator reintroduces himself to a fugitive shepherd.
And the thread through it all is that God is not absent in the silence. He was working through Shiphrah and Puah. He was working through that little basket. He was preparing Moses in the desert.
It's a powerful reminder that our perception of God's silence doesn't mean he's inactive.
And that he uses the unlikely. He didn't use an army. He used a baby, a basket, and a stuttering shepherd to take down an empire.
That's a great place to pause. Moses has his orders. The confrontation with Pharaoh is set. The great I Am is on the move.
It's going to be quite a showdown.
It certainly is. And that was it for day 18. Meet you on day 19 tomorrow.